Good morning. Good morning, good morning. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here in the UK, and I've just been sitting in my window. Well, not sitting in, well, yes, watching through the window. Watching a little robin. They're such tiny little things, and I always get one in the winter months. And he's been hopping around in the trees at the back there because all the trees are changing their colours. They've gone a sort of golden rusty brown. They're absolutely amazing, beautiful. So anyway, I'm awake. Well, I didn't have much sleep. I was watching the floor at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I think, well, I know I had some healing yesterday and also in the middle of the night. I've survived it. This is a bit of a continuation of the last video. I survived the saga of the box and the leads. The box came and I was surprised. I fitted it straight away. So everything's on, lights are on. I got back into my Netflix. I realised actually a couple of days ago I could watch DVDs on my television. So I've been catching up with I've got dozens of DVDs, catching up on some of the films. So it's been a good test really of clearing out. I think well, everything's a test, isn't it? And I do think a lot of things are sent to us to test us, to bring up our fears and our inadequacies. And I'm sure this was certainly, I was set up, really set up, because I didn't think I could do what I did. And it's a mental challenge for me because I'm a bit scatty, as I've said before, and I think I can't do things. Well, of course I can't do anything, put my mind to it. I think I'm a bit lazy actually, but this was kind of a setup, and I did it. I mean, I know I had lots of help, obviously I did, but I still managed it, gold stars. But the next day, I was absolutely mentally shot. Now, this is leading up to a little bit of a story about losing your mind. I mean, we are losing our minds because we're losing our everyday minds. But I have had some very strange experiences, quite frightening actually, of just losing my mind. And I'll tell you about them in a minute. But this is like part of it, where I woke up. I was at the middle of the night, maybe early morning, I don't know when, but I just knew that mentally there's not a lot there. And that's a bit frightening because we need our minds, don't we? I take Care Life Fast, a homeopathic remedy for mental exhaustion. That's pretty good. But I just knew I had to go back to bed and just surrender to this healing. And I do get frightened because I've had lots of anaesthetics where I've had to be put to sleep for operations, and I don't even like going to sleep. I realise that I don't even like going to sleep. I like to be in control. Well, of course, you're not in control when spirit gets hold of you and wants to do things. You have to surrender, and that's the hardest thing for me, I must admit. So I laid down quietly, and feel myself going slightly unconscious, and then this golden light kind of came into my mind and it was swirling very gently. Absolutely beautiful. It really was. I thought, I'm being realigned. I'm having some energy, mental energy sent to me. So I think that was kind of the reason for the setup. I had to get through this challenge, achieve it, get the gold star, and finally say yes, I can do it. It was like a test, and I think they've kind of replaced the energy that I'd lost. So that was quite an interesting challenge, really. And I do think I have lots of fears. I don't realise I've got them until I have to face them. And of course, living on my own, as I've always said, that's quite a frightening thing at times because you have no one to sort of catch you when you fall or make you a cup of tea. So um, I grumble about this particular thing. I think it was the hardest thing I ever had to do and took a great deal of mental energy, but it was replaced. I think that's reassuring, isn't it? That we do these amazing things and the energy is always replaced. And it was in the middle of the night as well, because I was watching films yesterday and I went out yesterday, that's right, to get my prescriptions, and I went out for not a big shop, but I had a job parking the car. You know what it's like, and I just did a bit too much really. So that's the middle of the night. I don't sleep. It's a funny thing, this illness. When you the more ill you are, the less you sleep. It should be the opposite. So I was awake half the night, and I suddenly felt this. I knew who it was. I felt this like a little burst of energy go to my base chakra, and I thought, gosh, I think some of my energy again has been replaced. So hence after I didn't sleep at all, I thought, okay, I've got some physical energy, let's go and wash the floor. But this mind losing thing, it's a kind of reassurance, but I'm not sure how many other people do go through this. I know we all have these challenges, but mine, it started a couple of years ago, and I've had lots of breakdowns in my life. Not severe ones, I call them little ones, breakups, breakdowns. Every so many months I sort of crash and I have to sort of take time out and just recover, really. And I think it is exhaustion, basically. So I've had a lot of mental challenges. I think with me, it feels to me like in previous lifetimes I've been quite an intellectual, quite a lot of information, intellectual. Maybe I've misused it because this time I don't have a lot. I'm intelligent, yes, but I'm not an intellectual. I think I've had to, in this lifetime, learn to come from the heart centre, not from the mind, and that there is a difference. And I find that frustrating because I want to have information. I'm always grumbling. I want information. So this lifetime I think has been about a mental challenge. I've got Neptune in a very strange place in my chart, and I've not gone as far as drugs. I don't take drugs of any sort, not even tranquilizers or sleeping tablets. I won't. But it's to keep your brain going at times for me is very challenging. So when all this really started several years ago, it is hard to put into words, and I've written it all down best I can. But it's like I wake up in the morning, and the mind is running on its own. It's speeding. It's almost as though I'm asleep, but I'm awake. The brain's doing its thing, computing I call it, processing, very, 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 very quickly. But I'm aware, I'm awake, so I'm not in control of it. And that is pretty scary because you can't control it. It's doing its thing, and I think it's processing or whatever it has to do, the subconscious. And maybe I should be asleep, I don't know. So the trick is to sort of, well, is to stay in the Christ mind. Many, many years ago, before I left my husband, I had a friend she's an American lady. She did different courses on different higher self exercises. I forgot what it was called now. It was just certain things she belonged to that she was teaching, and this is all before all this started. This is about 40 years ago, and I was frightened then. I said I knew that I was going to be probably unwell mentally. And I said to her, I said, is it, what will happen? She said, well, as long as you're in the Christ mind, then you're safe. And I think I can get into the Christ mind quite a lot when I'm carrying the Christ consciousness anyway. That's certainly there. So it's a question of staying in that while all this is going on. And many years ago, when I was living in a lodge house, which is very isolated and haunted, it was even worse because I didn't know what was going on then. And I found the best way to deal with it was to say poetry or sing hymns or focus on something, words, focus on something kind of simple and reliable and continuous. I used to say poetry or sing hymns or recite things, affirmations, decrees. And it would last about an hour sometimes. And took a great deal of concentration because I was frightened, obviously, of this mental process, and it's happened quite a lot. Not so much now, except yesterday when I was, having the healing, but I was aware of it. And you have to let go. It's like you have to let go of the mind. And that's difficult because we all need the mind, and the mind will fight to the nth degree to be in control, as you know. But we are losing our minds, our lower minds. See, we have three minds. We have a lower, a middle, and a higher. The lower is probably more subconscious. The middle one we're mostly in, everyday stuff. And you've got the Christ mind, the higher consciousness, which we're all heading towards, and we are getting more and more practice at it. But it's not so tangible as the everyday mind. And the everyday mind will get very upset and worried when you leave it, because it likes to be in control. So it's a question really of losing control as well. So it's quite an ask, isn't it? Especially when you're not used to. I mean, people meditate. That's something letting go of the mind, isn't it? And I think a lot of us are quite used to that. But this is something you wake up and you just. It's almost as though you aren't able to control it, and it's running along, and it does take about an hour sometimes. So if it's happened to you or happening, I mean, don't be afraid, because you have to really be strong and just start hanging in there whilst it's happening. I'm going to check the time a minute. I don't know what time it is. Well, it's time to go. That's good timing, isn't it? I don't go on too long because I know I look at the results, the watching time is people rarely watch the whole thing. I did a 5 minute video once and people watched it only for 2, so you can't win. But anyway, I just wanted to say that this morning because I've woken up with all in my mind and I've just been watching a little Robin, and a thought came to me, I'm not even dressed, I got my nightie on underneath here. So I thought, oh, let's go for it, let's do something different. So there we are, dear ones. Just watch it. I call it mind losing, and you can survive it, but you have to be very strong and give your mind something else to think about, if you know what I mean. Something wordy, something verbal, and keep at it and be in the higher consciousness. Okay, take care for now. God bless. Love you lots. Bye.